Awesome. Obviously, on behalf of our team, we're excited to be back in New Orleans. Obviously, last time we were here was a 17, which was a good outcome. And being from Louisiana, growing up, obviously a big fan of the Sugar Bowl. It's always been a really good bowl. They've done an outstanding job this week entertaining our players. It's a great venue. We're excited about playing a really good Kansas State team, very talented offense. They do a really good job schematically, so we'll have a work cut out for us. But we're excited to be back in New Orleans. Open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
All right, hang on. We're going to get a microphone to you right here in the front.
Your coaching background before you got to Alabama, a lot of small schools, obviously Tuscaloosa, Delta State, those places. In those experiences, did you come across a lot of super small backs that maybe remind you a little bit of Deuce Vaughn? Obviously, maybe not of his overall talent, but just that stature of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you're Division II level, 1AA or mid-major, the skill positions aren't that much different. It's just the size of the skill positions. So, I mean, you've got against a lot of good backs, but to your point, at the smaller levels, they are normally a little shorter, kind of like Deuce. But, I mean, he's a Sproles type. I mean, he's special with the ball in his hands. He reached top-end speed very quickly. But, again, I mean, he's one of the top receivers as well. So it becomes a matchup issue of who he's on. And so, to be able to stop the run, I mean, you can't put a DB on this cat all game, because he's in the box and they're running gap schemes and everything else. So, cover him out of the backfield, is going to be a challenge, but tackle him in space. So we've seen some backs, but I think he's probably one of the better backs we've seen this year for sure.
I'm going to stay here in the front.
Nick Kelly, Tuscaloosa News. We haven't talked to you since August. How would you assess your performance as a coach, play caller this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously every day, every week you're trying to look back and, what can we do better? How can I improve as a position coach, as a coordinator, and as a person. So you're always continuing to look to improve. Obviously, after the season's over, you go back from an evaluation standpoint and assess everything and what needs to be tweaked and what we need to change and how we need to do it better and who do we need to go talk to, to do some things better. But obviously, I think every day I try to improve on the previous day and look at it and evaluate it and see how can we do it better and then try to coach the hell out of it.
Right here in the second row.
Ted Lewis from the Times-Picayune. They from just showing your unfamiliarity with the procedure here, you don't get to talk very often. What's it like being Nick Saban's defensive coordinator for 4 years? How does one last in the job that long, and what kind of boss is he?
No, I mean, he's a great boss, and I think obviously people look at it and, it's black and white, so just like for our players, there's an expectation of your position, but it's very black and white and it's detailed out and what the expectations are, and you go to work every day and you try to achieve it. But at least there's no gray, where there's jobs out there to where you really don't know, you're really not being told how to do it, and you don't know whether you're doing it right or you're wrong. Here, and so you hear it every day. But it's awesome just being around the greatest coach of all time, day to day and all day, and learning from him, not only defensive, but how to manage a team, how to manage people. So it's been a really good experience for me.
Right here in the middle.
Hey, Pete, Aaron Suttles, the Athletic. You've come along in the game and grown up in it during this time of offensive just explosion, evolution, where teams are spreading you out, they're going pace, they're not subbing, they're not allowing you to sub. When you self-scout, do you ever look back sometimes and think maybe Alabama's defense is too complex?
I think we're always looking at how can you simplify things. But I think, offenses do a good job of using the horizontal space of the field, and they're still stretching you vertically, with the RPOs, using all 11 guys, especially this team using the quarterback. So it is a challenging from that standpoint. But, also it's as a coach, you want your guys to be in the best position possible based on what they're doing. And so there's always that fine line of being too simple, right? And then they're going to go check with me, and everybody in the building knows what you're in, and they got a matchup, right? And they're going to win that matchup, to being too complex and, motions and shifts and multiple calls within one, you end up not being on the same page. And if you get a bust, it doesn't matter, right? The call didn't matter. So I think, obviously simplifying things, especially with young players. But I think offensive now, there's so multiple, but, based on formation, you kind of know what you're going to get. So you try to pare it down and help your kids out, so they can work that throughout the week. So absolutely, we're always looking a way to make it easier while still not giving away what we're doing and being too simple. Yeah.
In the back on the right side here.
Coach Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama, just in coaching young linebackers, what have you seen in Jihad Campbell grasping the playbook and just playing fast as a young linebacker?
Yeah, Jihad was an outside linebacker in high school, so that transition from outside to inside is hard because obviously it's an outside piece. You're not reading, diagnosing the box, and you don't have keys, and you don't have a run and a pass responsibility. So, obviously the spring and the summer was big for him. We were talking about, Coach and I were talking about this morning. One great thing about these bowl games is these kids get 11 extra practices. And I think Jihad Campbell and Sean Murphy, those two freshman linebacker, have really taken advantage of these extra 11 practices. So I think he's become more comfortable in the position. I think he's, trained his eyes this season so he can trust them. Athletic ability's never been the issue. He's got really good twitch. He's got really good pass rush ability, having been an outside backer in high school, but he's starting to learn and be able to read and diagnose the box, and motion and flashers and things like that aren't affecting him as much. So he's taking a big step. We're expecting some big things from him in the future.
We'll go to the back here on the left side.
Hey, Coach. Joey Blackwell, BamaCentral.com. Due to its success, Alabama's defense has kind of developed a reputation that precedes it over the past decade and a half. And my question is this, when you're constantly facing opponents that are bringing their A game because they're playing Alabama, how does that make your job more challenging and more difficult as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference probably have been in Alabama and other places is you're not really going to get what you've seen on tape from a lot of people. So, whether they've done it all year, they're going to go back and what's caused issues for you in the past, regardless whether it's been in their package or not. A lot of teams are like that. So the tough part is in the preparation for the kids. You're working things throughout the week that they're not seeing on tape. Because if you don't work in and expose it to them during the week, and that happens in a game, they're not going to be ready for it. So, the tough part of college football now is the multiple formations, the unbalances, the formation of the boundary. You throw the tempo on top of it, the empty game, and a lot of things that they can't do in the NFL, right? It's illegal. So that's so much a part of offenses now to where you really break it down. 60% of the plays that we see in a game are either formation in the boundary or an unbalanced formation. And so it's not even a normal set. And so that's most of the game now. So getting those checks and being on the same page, and getting that done, is the tough part.
We're going to stay in the middle here.
Yeah, Pete, Tony Sakalas, Tide Illustrated. You mentioned Sean and Jihad. Just where do you stand at that position right now? It looks like you guys are a bit banged up in the middle of the defense.
Yeah, obviously Henry's playing in the game. We'll have Deontay Lawson, that's been playing the will position. Sean Murphy's worked, at the backup Mike position along with Kendrick Blackshire. He's been out for a while, and we've got him back healthy. And then at the will position, obviously you got Deontay and Jihad, and then Ian Jackson as well. So we've been rolling 6 guys through the bowl game and trying to get in a lot of reps because, we'll see who shows up on Saturday. But those 6 have been getting all the reps.
All right, we're going to go to the back on the right side.
Hey, Coach. Tim Everson, Manhattan Mercury. K-State has started 2 quarterbacks throughout the season. They've announced, obviously, that Will Howard's going to get the start. But how do you handle the potential of Adrian Martinez getting some time?
Yeah, obviously you got to prepare for him. I think that's the one thing that's changed now more than ever is, you're seeing a lot more athletic quarterbacks, run-style quarterbacks throughout the year, where you used to not do that much, especially in this conference. But we're seeing it more. So you've got to understand, obviously, up front, I don't think they change – schematically, really who they are. Obviously, there's a little bit more of the quarterback run game with 9 in the game, but they'll still do it with 18 in the game as well. So, the big thing I think difference in 9 is, when the coverage breaks down and it's not there, the ability to extend the play, I think is a little more consistent, than when 18's in the game. But we got to be ready for both of them. Obviously, we watch tape on both of them. Our kids understand, there's going to be 2 quarterbacks playing in the game primarily, and we got to be aware who's in the game. But schematically, from a run game and a pass concept, they are who they are, at least up to this point.
Going to stay here on the left side, in the back.
Yeah, Austin Hanna, Bama Central. It all kind of starts with Deuce Vaughn, but who are some other guys on the Kansas State offense that concern you a little bit?
Yeah, obviously, the tight end's a big target. They move him around. He's in the Sierra. He's on the ball. He's off. He's open. But, he's 6'6", got good hands, so the big part of the offense. I think 4 can stretch the field. I think he's athletic. They find ways to get him the football. And they got a lot of good players that play within the system, and I think, that's one thing, depending upon who's at quarterback, they're really good at taking what you're giving them. And I think they're very patient on offense. They have a lot of complementary plays based on the front and coverage you're in, both in the run game and the pass game. So they do a good job of taking what's there. We got to do a good job stemming and disguising, not always showing what we're in. But, I think this game's going to be about, stopping our run and tackling guys in space. And I think they do a good job with their movement keys. We got to be really disciplined in the back end with our eye control and make them drive the field. We can't give up explosive plays in their play action game.
All right, we're going to go to the far back left side.
Yes, Tony Reese, WTVM, ABC affiliate in Columbus, Georgia. Coach, we talk about guys' pivotal decision earlier this month when Will said that he played in this game. Just kind of how pivotal has been to defensive morale, just how essential is he now to that defense going forward?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, he's kind of the heart and soul, of that defense. But I think that's kind of the mentality of Alabama. I think that starts with Coach Saban. I think, people come to Alabama and they want to compete against the best and they want to play in big-time games. And I know we're not where we want to be, right now, but the Sugar Bowl is a great venue. It's a great event, but it's an opportunity for them to compete. And I think that's the guys that we're trying to recruit. That's the people this day and age that you need on your team. It ain't always about money. There's opportunity to go out and get better, improve my craft, but it's about competing, and it's about winning the damn game. And I think that's the competitor in Will, and that's the competitor in a lot of our guys, that, there's still opportunity for him to increase value, but more importantly, to go out there with his boys and finish this thing the right way.
And we're going to stay here in the middle of the left side.
Michael Cascaranda, AL.com. When you look at your career, what would you say your goal is within the coaching world?
I really don't get caught up in it. I don't have it. Obviously, I try to be the best coach that I can, the best person I can. I got into coaching to affect young men. And you can do that whether you're a position coach, a coordinator, or a head coach. And I'm in no rush. I've said this before, to be a head coach. I think there's a lot more to that. I love game planning. I love being in the room with our guys. Obviously, I got to do a better job of putting them in better position, continue to coach them better so they can have a better product on the field. But right now, I'm just worried about K-State and getting through this walk through tomorrow, to be honest with you.
And we have time for 2 more questions. We're going to start here on the left.
Mike Rodak with AL.com. Statistically, this was a top 10 defense this year, but there were some breakdowns against Tennessee and LSU. Just how do you explain what happened in those games compared to kind of the bigger picture of what the defense was?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they had some really good players, and I think, that's one thing about Tennessee. I mean, they're an explosive offense, and they're going to find ways to create one-on-one matchups. But the biggest thing even in that game, we kind of talked about going into it, is contesting every play. And when you're playing against good teams, you can't have uncontested plays. And a couple of those were uncontested plays. A bust on a motion adjustment. When they have an audible, they run the same play every time. We don't get the check. So, getting all 11 guys, on the same page was a big piece. But also, in big games, guys got to step up and make plays when they need to. And I felt like in those games, in critical moments, the other team stepped up and made more plays than we did. And that's something, obviously, that we emphasized towards the end of the year. I mean, you look at those 2 games specifically, we had the opportunity in both those games in the fourth quarter to win the game on defense, and we didn't. And there were some critical third downs in the LSU, the last drive, had the opportunity to get out the field, and we didn't. And the same thing with the Tennessee game. And so, obviously we've all learned from that, and, we watched that on tape, but we had to live through that. Things that we got to clean up and we got to improve on. But there's that part of being competitive greatness, being at your best when your best is needed, whether that's a call or whether that's a play, and a player doing his job. So, we all got to improve on that.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. We have time for one more question.
Again, Aaron Suttles, the Athletic. I know you're not focused on the future, but do you plan to be at Alabama next year?
I'm still under contract, so absolutely.
All right, thanks, Coach Golding. And as a reminder, Alabama defensive players are now available next door in Napoleon A. Thank you.
Appreciate it.